Dr. Bradley.
Yep.
And right now we have sitting in the guest seat is Mr. Danny Santana from Inspiring Today's Youth, which is a local organization. He'll introduce himself. Welcome, Danny, and welcome to the roundtable.
Actually, we've for technical reasons we've changed our name to Inspiring Today's Young Adults because I don't only work with youth in the city. I also work with a large population of returning citizens like myself, campaigning for fair housing for all.
But I really like that term, returned citizen, though. I will talk about that later, but I like that way of actually identifying those individuals who have gone to the institution, because that's what it is. For whatever reason, that's on them. They have done their time, and now they're returning back to the fold of humanity. That's how I see it, And so they're really warranted of of respect, and they should be given that the sense of decency to come back into the community. That's what I visualize when I hear that term. So I just want to say that. But okay, but go on. So if
no, well, the thing is, it's like, again, you've worked with a lot of young people and returning citizens, and you've you yourself have experienced a lot of the hardship and the struggles to get back into society. And a lot of people think, oh, once hey, you've served your time, you get out, everything should be fine. But the way it's set up, unfortunately, a lot of times it's set up that the system sends you right back into the institution because of violations or ignorance of different laws or things that you weren't aware of. Would you like to share some of those experiences with us?
Well, people think that you commit a crime, you go to jail, you do your time, and then it ends right there. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. Mm-hmm. The reality is that, for a lot of returning citizens, we don't have the ability to get the necessary things that we need to become productive citizens in society. The way that things are set up right now, you got to wait about 2 to 3 months just to get your ID. And if you ain't got an ID, how can you get any jobs? How can you apply for any housing? How can you apply for the necessary things that you need that are essential without a proper ID?
So let me process this, because did we talk about this a couple of weeks ago? And a brother called in, and were you that brother that called?
Yes,
in?
Yes.
He gave me your number.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm over 60, brothers. You have to just give me some space. Let me. It's gonna come, because this was bothering me at the time that we had this conversation.
Exactly.
Because I was understanding, like, wait a second.
It takes the housing court.
It takes you 3 months
just to get an ID.
So, but when you're coming out of the system, you're required to meet certain criterions, right? In terms of you have certain things you must have in order not to violate the parole,
Well, it all depends on how you're coming out, whether you're coming out with continued supervision or parole, or if you're just wrapped up. For individuals like me that are just wrapped up, they ain't coming home with no stipulations, no pending parole, no pending supervision. It pretty much falls on us to do what we need to do to be able to succeed in society. And even guys that are coming home on parole and probation, Sheriff Steve Tompkins has done a phenomenal job with what he's done in his prison, his county jail, in trying to ensure that guys have birth certificates and IDs and the essentials needed. However, there are quite a few that fall through the crack for whatever reasons, and it becomes difficult for returning citizens to get a job within 2 to 3 weeks after they come home. I had an opportunity to get a job as a manager at McDonald's on my 3rd day of release, and I literally had to wait 2 months to get an ID before I can start that job at McDonald's.
So when you say you get an ID from the state?
from the
Yes,
state.
an official state ID. And if you're leaving the prison, I feel like the prison ID, you should just be given a prison ID, and that's an official state ID.
Why can't you be giving that before you leave? Though?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of guys are off of that. The truth is that some guys just don't take advantage of the opportunity. Some caseworkers just drop the ball on that for certain guys, and don't ensure that they have that. And and other guys just, they're in and out so quick that there isn't enough time for them to have that process begun.
So, okay, just to make sure that the citizens who are listening understand what we're talking about, why don't you just give us a quick overview of your program, what you're doing to address these issues? I assume that that's what your program is about.
So, I run one of the largest youth and adult gang mentorship programs.
Okay.
I focus on two demographics in society.
Okay.
The youth who come from what's considered high-risk areas, who are prone to be either active or on their way to become active gang members, and returning citizens who are in need to have a voice to speak up for them, who are in need of services that they can't get in otherwise through other programs or institutions.
Okay. All right. Wow. Well, this is really eye-opening, and I can, I don't know what to say, man.
Well, no, the thing is, again, the prison to school pipeline, again, there's a lot of profit in having the prisons run. And then so a lot of times I see that they set up a lot of roadblocks so people have to come back. They don't set it up so like the people, once you're here, we don't want to ever see you again. Get out of here. Go be good and do what's right in society. They don't set it up that way.
But I guess my question would be is okay, I hear what you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing. I think what you're doing is very important to the success of those brothers who are coming out. And we also have women that are coming out will be dealing with the same situation. So
very true.
I got that. And I think it's important for the safety of society to bring people to make sure that people can come back into the system, into society, and be respected, and also have able to make a living.
The problem is that a lot of people in society think that they understand and have the solution on how to reach our youth from today's generation.
Okay.
Our youth in today's generation are not grown and not raised like how me and you were raised. There's a lack of family morals that's no longer taught in the households where these kids come from. There's a lack of respect for your elders and those who would be considered authority and superiors. Kids in today's generation are not afraid to disrespect authority. They're not afraid to cross the lines that we would consider, disrespectful. Back in our days, I had OGs, older men, that if I stepped out of line, they was quick to step in. Like, yo, listen, little blood, young blood, like, we don't allow that over here. You can be hardcore on the streets, but there's a few lines that you don't cross. And those lines is, you don't disrespect Miss Jackson when she's coming across. When she's carrying groceries, you stop whatever you're doing, you help her. If an old lady or old man gets on the bus or somebody disabled, you give up your seat. You don't cop out an attitude and roll your eyes. You don't talk disrespectful. You don't talk about your genital parts in front of senior citizens. The amount of disrespect that I see daily on the MBTA, because I still travel a lot on the MBTA, is horrendous. We got these large groups of kids when they coming out in certain areas, certain times from schools or from after school programs, and it's like, you gotta ask yourself, what are these kids really being taught in the households that they coming from nowadays, that these kids think it's all right to be one way when their parents are not around, and then be another way when their parents are around. And even if their parents are around, I deal with a number of parents of youth that I have in my program who call me like, listen, they breaking dishes, they're disrespecting me, they put their hands on me, come help me before I hurt this child. You know, and it's like a lot of those calls that I get are from single mothers.
Now, so are you doing this just you, or you have a group of individuals that are working with you that you can call on and say, hey, listen, hey, Mike, go talk to this particular child because this child need to have someone like yourself who have gone through these things and can show him this is where you're going if you don't stop this, or this is just something you're doing?
Up to date, me and my staff are not paid for any of the work that I do in society or in the community. I have a group of volunteer community partners and individuals who truly believe in what I'm doing and the work that I'm doing with these youth, who I rely on for specific situations. I mean, I deal with not just youth, but adults who are suicidal, who have mental illness, who need advocacy for housing, who need advocacy for job trainings and job placement. You know, I deal not only with the youth that are gang related, but also with the parents of these kids that are gang related, and providing them services and letting them know, listen, I understand what you're going through in your household with this child that's disrespectful, that doesn't want to listen, but at the same time, and not to point any fingers, but you sort of got to take responsibility for your household being like that, because if you would have been installing family morals and stopping from the beginning, when you realized that your child was saying that they was part of a gang, when you realized that your child had a gun in your house, you know, you condone those actions. You know, you know, parents that were smoking weed, doing drugs, being drunk, had a number of different sexual partners in and out the households. These are things that you taught your child from an early stage. So now that your child is at a stage where they believe that they know it all, you know, that they don't need to listen to nothing, and now you're desperate to find some type of community service to help you. You know, it begins with your teaching, the type of love that you installed in your kid.
They say the fundamental foundation of a child begins from the age of 0 to 5. They say if the child is not, from 0 to 5, if that child is not properly nurtured and taken care of and disciplined and educated, like into that point, after that, it's going to be kind of hard to have the authority figure, to have the respect, and stuff like that. Because if from 0 to 5, if you're letting them do whatever they want, get away, just keep giving them the phone or the tablet, and you're not actually willing to engage with them, oh no, and you just want to go hang out with your friends, that's where the problem is. And then most people don't realize that's the most important time to be spending with the child.
So, but I have two hits. My first hit is, if I were a young lady or a parent who's listening to this show today, how would I get in touch with you?
You would get in contact with me by looking up my website, www.ityouth.org.
Okay.
Or you would call me directly at 857-221-1497. Also look me up on Facebook, Instagram. On Facebook, I am Danny Santana or ityouth.org, or Instagram and TikTok under ityouth.org.
Okay. Well, Brother Santana, let me say something to you. I commend what you're doing, man. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I want to ask you this question. Based on what you're doing, how often do you get a call from a family that has both parents in it? We have the mother and the father, both there. And
I'm going to be honest, not very often. What I come to realize is that units that have both parents in the household, the likelihood of that child being disrespectful or acting up is very minimum. You know, and not to say that I haven't had calls from, you know, units with two parents in the household, because I have, but it's usually because the father was, you know, on vacation like I had been, was a returning citizen, and now he's back in the household. So he was gone for a number amount of years out that child's life.
So it's a struggle.
So those kids, you know, they look at that. Well, you did this, you did that. Who are you to tell me? You know, and it comes down to a point of setting up family therapy, individual therapy, and finding ways to inspire that child to want to communicate and be involved with the parent.
And see, so what I'm hearing here, for those individuals who's listening to the show, you listening to the roundtable for MAMLEO, you can call in and speak to Mr. Santana, or I'll call him Brother Santana, because I really appreciate what you're doing. 617-282-0685 or 617-282-7794. But listen, if I had a situation where my child was really acting up, and I feel like I'm at wit's end, how would you? What do you do when you get into that kind of situation? What do you do in trying to get that child to kind of behave?
So, a lot of cases, those are, you know, issues that the childs are facing of depression, of anxiety, and believe it or not, some of these kids are real suicidal.
Really?
So, my first alternative when a child is out of control, as in the way that you say, call the best team. I connect them to the best team. I have the best team come visit the house, do an on-site, you know, evaluation to evaluate whether this child is a harm to himself or others. And if, you know, the best team determines that this child's not a harm to himself or others, then there's really not much they can do for their family. So the next alternative is to look to refer them to agencies that are experienced and have a track record on working with families, you know, that have certain issues, you know.
So the best team is that team that works with the Boston Police Department that comes out to mental illness type issues to evaluate the individual. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
You know, because what it is, you know, most cases these kids are just going through a stage of depression and anxiety, but because they're not fundamentally developed like most adults, they don't know how to understand these things about them. They don't know how to cope when they feeling that certain way. So one of the things that I've implemented in my youth program is, you know, breath work, meditation, taking the time to be able to just take space for yourself and counting back in your head, you know, and certain things that, you know, my assistant director is, you know, a professional in doing, because this is her area of expertise. You know.
So let me ask you this question: what do you think is causing this issue, where the kids are coming up in such a way that they're, number one, they're disrespectful to their parents, they have no respect for authority? If you can identify one thing that's happening in society that you think that was a reason for this, well, what would that be?
That there's no true family unit in the households that they coming from. These kids, you know, you got to understand that kids, they come from households, and even if there's one single mother, because they're phenomenal single parents out there that install in their kids respect, compassion, you know, understanding, you know, and having authority figure on their child to where they just have to look at that child a certain way, and that child knows, hold on, Mama,
I remember that look.
Mama's about to put that foot up on me, you know, because every child, I don't care how old that child is, every child always wants to make their parent proud, always wants to feel a sense of validation and a sense of worth. Okay? And when your child is continuously acting out in those manners, it's because you as a parent has failed that child and not to give them the validation and the sense of worth that they should be given to. So if you as a parent are not giving your child that, how do you expect your child to respect you?
Yeah, I got it. And one of the things that I'm sitting here as I listen to you and I hear what you're doing, again, I commend you on it. I'm saying to myself, this is a result of over-policing, mass incarceration, all those things that that we have dealt with in this community, where you're taking the most basic of society and you're disrupting that family.
Yeah, the family unit, exactly.
You're pulling the man out of that unit,
Yeah.
and so and now as a
And that's another way to perpetuate the breakdown of the family.
well, that's it. But the key piece here is that, and I'm sitting as a former police officer, where I have dealt with youth that had total disrespect for authority. All respect for authority starts local. It's in the home.
Yeah.
If you cannot obey your mother and father's rules, you're not going to obey the rules in society.
No.
I think we have a caller. We have a caller? All right, caller. Hello, caller. You there?
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Bradley. How you doing? This is Cliff.
Hey, Cliff. How you doing? How's everything going, brother?
I'm good. I'm blessed. Can't complain.
So you have a question for our brother Santana?
Yeah, actually, a question, and because I work with the youth also,
Okay.
with young brothers, and I see a lot of young brothers in a lot of pain. Where are to the brother Santana? Where are the brothers that are raising these young brothers? I know half of them are incarcerated. I know half of them are out and about, don't care about their kids. But do you think that the men in society fail these young brothers?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly speaking, I'm a part of that blame. I got a daughter. My daughter's like 22 years old, and I love her to death. But we don't really communicate as well or as good as we should at the moment, because my daughter feels that I'm too busy paying more attention to other kids than I do my own daughter, and it's sad that she feels that way. And and I try to make her realize that in part way it was due to my selfishness, to the addiction that I had in the past, and in another part way it was due to I didn't know how to be a proper father when she truly needed me. So now that she's an adult, it's like, well, I'm an adult now, I'm living my own life. What do I really need you for? And those are hard truths to expect, and those are hard truths to face, but I face them, and I try to be the example that I wasn't in my community before. I try to be the person that has the understanding to deal with a demographic of society that society doesn't know how to deal with. And the truth is, like my brother Cliff just said, a lot of these young individuals that we're working with, they're just suffering from a lot of hurt and pain that they don't know how to properly process.
But brother, it also seems to me that based on what you just said, you would be an excellent mentor for those fathers who are trying to reconnect with their children. Because one of the things that I see as a father of a blended family, where I came in, married my wife when my girls were small kids, and when you're there to nurture them, but to protect them and do things that fathers do, they love you. They love you sincerely, and and they go to you when issues are confusing in their lives, when they're young adults and they are trying to figure things out. Like I said to my daughter the other day, I can't tell you who to vote for, but at this point I can advise you. At this point, I am a coach in your life, and the coach in the game is life. And I can advise you on what I would do, how things could work. So I see you as a very good resource for individuals who may want to reconnect and with their children. But I also see you as a very good resource for those kids who were like you when you were smaller. You see what I'm saying? That's how I'm seeing it.
So I created my program solely off of my experiences and my past eras, And one of the reasons why I was so prone to lash out in violence growing up was because I had a lot of hurt and pain of the injustice that I received as a young child, the fact that I was made to grow up way early in life than I should have, and I didn't know how to properly express or to tell another individual, the reason why I am the way that I am is because I rather lash out in violence than to sit here and admit that I'm in pain, that I'm hurting, and that I need help.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's also, I would say this as a parent, there's no user manual or operational manual on how to be a father.
No.
You know what I mean?
There isn't.
There's nothing there. I mean, you pull that from other fathers or other men around you who are doing the job. But what if there's no men around you doing it? You're left on your own.
Because that whole village is not there.
Yeah. You're on your own trying to figure that out.
So what you then now is have a generation of young adults, young youths that look towards each other for guidance and support.
The blind leading the blind.
Misguided youth. Yeah.
The blind leading the blind. So then this is where you got your followers and your leaders. You have young adults, young youths who have true leader potential, but they don't have nobody to give them guidance to be able to lead them in the right path. So they taking their leadership, the potential to be a leader, and they using it negatively to influence those that are in their surroundings.
We have another.
Yeah, we do have another caller.
You want to bring another call in?
Right.
Hello, caller. You on?
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? This is Boston's own Mr. Clifton A. Braithwaite.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, guys, and I just wanted to say, man, I'm 100% in and support my man Danny. He reminds me so much of myself, and he has a great heart.
Yes,
he has the will to work through the system and get better. So he never has to worry about where I'm at, what I'm doing, because I'm all the way in. And we need the community to get more involved. And we have to stop fighting each other.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. This brother just brought up a very good point. What type of support are you getting from elected officials? From the community?
That's a joke.
Can you help us with that?
That's a joke.
I wasn't trying to be comical.
But that is, glad you brought it up, right?
I'm not here to throw salt or shade on any. I think there's plenty of people in society who know how I personally feel about our so-called elected officials. Okay. I will say this. The only true supporters that ITY has had from any elected official has been Aaron Murphy and Julia Mejia. Okay. Everybody else gives me a song and dance. Everybody else would lie to me in my face. So they was all my best friends during election season. Okay. They was quick to call me to want to utilize my youth to go door knocking for them to get them votes and everything, right? But as soon as election disappeared, I can't even get on the phone with these people without having to go through their chief of staff, okay? Wow. And then to set up to meet with these people, I can't even get a meeting with these people no sooner than a month and a half later.
Oh, wow.
And then when I do get the meetings and I show up to City Hall to go meet with these individuals, oh, Mr. Santana, I'm sorry, you're not on the agendas for today. There must have been some type of miscommunication.
Oh, my God. So you get the runaround.
So I'm at the point where I've expressed publicly how I feel about certain individuals, and there's no need to even name these individuals because they know who they are. Okay. We got a lot of elected officials that claim that they care about the black and brown communities, but the reality is they only care about blacks. They don't care about brown, and they don't even care about all blacks. They care about the blacks that they favoritize from neighborhoods that aren't in need of services.
I just got a message from a family member. Could you do me a favor and explain to the listening audience what does the ITS? I know what it means.
So ITY stands for Inspiring Today's Young Adults.
Okay.
And then someone, what's best? Remember you mentioned
BEST is the Boston Police Evaluation. It's a stress team.
Okay.
That when there's a mental health call for service coming into the Boston Police Department, there's a team of individuals that the officer can call in to come out to assist the officer on dealing with that issue. So the officer is not applying law the enforcement
So
law
can-
is something
so
mental
can-
illness cases.
So
that
can an
arise.
individual or a citizen say, "I'm calling 911, but I'm requesting a best team"?
No. What happens is that you call 911, the officer will respond. If officers look at the situation and say, like, this is a better issue involving this is a mental health issue involving someone that I need to help me evaluate their call, he will call in the best team.
Okay.
And the best team will respond out to help. with
So
that situation.
it's not citizens that can evaluate themselves.
No. It's more of a entity working in conjunction with law enforcement.
Okay.
All right?
Correct.
So listen. Again, you're listening to the round
Round
table
table.
at MAMLEO. I haven't done this in a while. I'm Dr. Bradley here with my brother Rose and my brother Mr. Santana.
Danny Santana.
Danny, I'm really amazed. You're amazing me, brother. You know, I mean, I know I got your number, and I said to myself, I got to call somebody, but it's about age, brother. It's not about disrespect. All right, but I'm at.
No, but
Not taken.
I gotta mention this. We went actually on a tour because the sheriff's department invited us on a tour to see the facilities and what was going on. And Danny, like, to give him credit, like, literally they were explaining all these programs that were going on in the prison system now, in the jail system. And he was humbling himself. It's like, those were the suggestions that I made. I'm glad that they're implementing them, but these were the suggestions that I made before I left here. And he's like, whoever's doing it, great. And he gave Sheriff Tompkins credit for implementing these programs. He was like, everything that I wanted in this system, this prison, they had programs, they had art programs, they had music programs. Explain other things that they got involved.
They involved a number of different community partners to come in and provide opportunities to guys. So guys wasn't just sitting playing cards and dominoes all day, gambling, and then wasting, hundreds of dollars, to continue their addiction. First of all, let me tell you something.
Gambling's an addiction.
So in South Bay, it is very hard to come across any type of drugs nowadays. Okay, they've cracked down, I would say, tenfold compared to what it was maybe 10 years ago. So the usage of drugs in that facility is very minimum compared to what it was 10 years ago. So, and the programs that they now provide, it's sad that back then it used to be 70% committed and 30% pretrial. Now it's 80% pretrial and only 20% committed. So the problem that they facing inside that institution is that there isn't, guys come in and they don't last more than 3 months. You got guys that are repeatedly coming in and out, 1 week here, 2 week there, and unless they being sentenced to a committed time, they don't have the opportunity to take advantage of the programming that's come into South Bay. Now, with so many guys no longer being committed to the House of Correction, so many young adults being committed to the state penitentiary, it's hard to provide certain services that are out there for them right now to a larger group of population that are incarcerated.
So I think a lot of people are confused by, and I'm going to explain it. I think you did a very good job actually showing us exactly how it works. But the South Bay facility is considered a jail, which is used for housing individuals who have not met the term of the bail, and that we're waiting to be tried. That's oh, by the way, while you're in that status, your rights to vote is still intact. By the
Correct.
way. You know what I mean? A lot of people didn't know that, but they cannot take those rights without justification. They have to adjudicate you first. All right, then those rights kind of step in the background. So the jail is for temporary holding of individuals who have been arrested for a situation The penitentiary is for long-term holding of individuals who have been adjudicated, who have been tried.
And
So
have been
make sure we
convicted
understand.
of a
Yes.
crime. And then the jail is you still qualify for bail. So if you don't make bail, you'll be in jail. But if you make bail, you can get out of jail.
Exactly.
In prison, there is no bail.
So I definitely thank you. Do we have any other questions from the callers for Mr. Santana?
Yeah, I got one more question.
Sure.
For Mr. Santana. Now, I heard you say that back in the days when the OGs used to tell these young kids, "Hey, stop that! Don't do that." You know, and they listen. Nowadays, like you said, you can't tell these kids nothing. Now, as referring to the daughters of the gentlemen, some of them grow up to have daddy issues, and some of them grow up to use men in all kinds of ways. How can we, as a community, stop the destruction, not the cycle, but the destruction of future young kids for them to not be in gangs and not to go to prison? What's your suggestion?
So I need more brothers that got the same understanding than me. First of all, there's a whole crew brothers, OG brothers that gangbang, sold drugs. They're no longer doing that, but yet they're not doing their part in society. They rather sit back and be opinionated about what's going around instead of stepping forward and being, let me be part of the solution instead of continuing being part of the problem the way that I used to be. You know, so there's a lot of good brothers that I talk to, you know, that I kick it with, you know, and it's like, you know, and I tell them to their face, like, bro, like, you know, you're very opinionated about things that I don't see you in the streets caring to show a different way. You know what I'm saying? So then they take it personal, like, oh, what you trying to, no, I'm just being real with you. If we talking real and you respect me like a brother like you say you do, my brother, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm just trying to tell you, I need help in doing what I'm doing in these streets. I need help. I need numbers. More power, more people. You know, because I'm not just helping a certain demographic of society. I'm helping multiple demographics in society, okay? People think that I only deal with the youth. No. What about the parents to these youth that I deal with, having to offer them and give them services for different things? You know, these mothers that can't feed their kids, that call me like, yo, D, can you tell me what's the nearest pantry to me, please? I don't have a ride. Is there any way that you can help me get a ride or help somebody to get to drop off food for me? Or young brothers that call me, that send me texts like, yo, you know what? Nobody wants to give me a job. You know, I'm going to just go out there, shoot somebody, go back to selling drugs. And I got to pick up my phone at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, listen, brother, calm down. I understand where you're coming from, all right? Because it wasn't even 5 years ago that I was feeling the same way you was feeling. It wasn't even 5 years ago that I felt so stuck and so desperate, because that's what you're feeling right now, desperation, all right? Let me give you some insight to your situation, how you can help yourself. All right, because I can bring a horse to the water, but I can't force a horse to drink the water. So you know what I'm saying. So at the same time, in this desperation that you feel, you gotta be willing to give the effort to do what you need to do for yourself, so that you don't continue feeling the way that you're feeling. You know?
But I think the other thing too, Danny, is that the system is actually geared towards encouraging people to feel that way. You know, the fact that it takes you 3 months to get an ID.
Yeah, you said 2 days you had a job, but you could not take the job because you could not get the ID.
But you still got to survive.
Yeah,
you still got to eat. You know, you still got to do those things that are necessary.
And the truth is that a lot of individuals don't know how to advocate for themselves and speak up for themselves as well as I do. You know, a lot of individuals, you know, good brothers, but they fall into that desperation. And they don't know how to climb out of that desperation. So they're going to resort to doing what they know best. Let me get to this bread. Let me get to this bread. Let me get this package. Let me sell this crack. Let me run down this nigga's crib, kick in his door, and take what he's got. You know why? Because it was easier to do that to survive. When I was committing crime and doing what I was doing, I never lacked money. I never lacked the things in society that I needed because I always had an income, a flow of money. Even though it wasn't the right way to get in it,
you had it.
I never had a need of necessity. Okay? I work from 5 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, 3-4 days a week. On top of all the continuous meetings that I do in society to keep up with my program, to keep up with my image, to do the work that I do in society. I've helped about 300 returning citizens in the last 9 months, and I've never received a dime from anybody. No city official has ever helped me to get a grant. Matter of fact, I put in a number of grants with the city, and they've all been denied over the fact that I have a lawsuit against the Boston police for police brutality, and they all said that it's a conflict of interest to even speak to me.
Wow.
You know, so when you ask me what has any elected city officials done for me, that's why I laughed. Like, are you serious? You know, I've done way more for these elected officials
Than they have done for
than anybody's ever done for me. And the only true elected official that's ever really truly done anything for me in my youth, and she tells me all the time, don't say what I've done for you because it doesn't matter. I don't need no acclamation for it. It's Julia Mejia. And that's a fact. And what I love and respect about that woman is that she knows I'm working on some major pilot programs. But she already promised herself out to advocate for other programs for this year's budget. She's not able to do nothing for me. But she didn't wait no day, no week to call me. Danny, listen, I need to be honest with you. I love what you're doing, brother, but I cannot support you right now in the ways that you need me to support you. Because I've already guaranteed myself and my support for other candidates who are doing the same thing as you.
So it's not like I can't support you. I can't do it right at this moment. All right. Do we have another caller? Do you have anything? Do I have other callers that may want to say something? Do we have another? I think you do have another caller. We have another caller on. Okay. Caller
on.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I have a question for you, guest.
Sure.
And my question is, have you ever heard of a man named T. Michael Thomas and his People's Academy? And are you going to work with the man for helping returning citizens in ways of making sure they can get a trade? Because let's face it, even though they're all returning citizens,
absolutely,
not all of them. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
No, go ahead.
Michael T. Thomas. That's another brother that doesn't get no love and no recognition.
That's true.
That's another organization that ITY would proudly be a part of and associated with, because I recognize the need. I recognize what that brother is giving to the brothers, the demographics that I'm working with. Okay, and instead of the city of Boston supporting programs like mine and supporting programs like Michael T. Thomas, they want to support all these other programs that are mediocre. And I'm not saying that they're not good. They're just mediocre compared to what me and Michael T. Thomas really do with our group of guys that we work with. Okay?
Yeah, the real folks who are coming back who need the help. Because T. Michael Thomas calls us almost. I'm surprised he hasn't called
exactly
and explained that he's not getting any help, any support.
No.
But he is, and I visited his academy. I mean, this brother's
phenomenal.
using his own building. The apartments that he could be renting out, he converted them into classrooms. And I was over there, and some of the stuff that he does is amazing.
The metalwork, the copperwork, the carpentry, the artwork.
But you're talking about
the number one
sustain themselves.
The number one trade in demand. He teaches. All right. All the other trades are in demand, but they're not in demand like the carpet trade. Okay. He teaches the number one trade in demand, and because the city of Boston knows the power and the influence that he'll truly have in the community. See, they rely on continuous violence. they rely on the continuality of black and brown against each other instead of us uniting. Because if black and brown finally wake up to see what you and I know, to stop fighting each other, to start uniting, then we're going to be the real power and the real force out there. You know what I'm saying? These elected officials are in position because black and brown haven't come together in support to say, you know what? I'm tired of your jive BS. I'm tired of your deception of saying that you're out here for us, that you care for us, but you don't really care for us. And you know what? It's time for us to start coming together and start removing certain people that in City Hall. I don't need to name no names because you guys know who I speak about, okay? But trust and believe. Trust and believe. When I start uniting the masses the way that I'm planning to do, there's going to be a lot of changes coming next election.
Well, we can definitely feel the passion,
Yes.
brother.
Yes, we
can
do.
definitely feel the passion. There's no question about it. Do you have any other questions for our guests?
Nah, just like I said, just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I'm one of those brothers that wants to make a change in my community. So, how can I get a hold of you?
I want to invite everybody to an event that I got coming on tomorrow. It's at 3 p.m. at 100 Malcolm X Boulevard. I'm campaigning for fair housing for returning citizens, but it's just not returning citizens. We're campaigning for fair housing for everybody, okay? More people, more power. Please come out to support ITY. Come stand behind me and my banner. I'm looking to have anywhere between 300 to 500 supporters standing behind me so we can go to the legislations in the State House and demand that this bill get passed. That everybody have a right to fair housing. I was homeless for 14 years, my brothers. 14 years on the waiting list. And if it wasn't for the blessing of Leslie Credo, the director of Justice for Housing, I would still be homeless right now. Okay, it's because of what that program was able to do for an individual like me. That I was able to have a place of my own to concentrate to develop these programs that I'm in the streets teaching and promoting to the community.
This brother asked again how to get in touch with you, just in case you need to get in touch.
You would look me up either on Facebook under Danny Santana or ITU.org. Our webpage, itu.org, on Instagram or TikTok, itu.org. Oh, my brother, I'm going to just give you my number, 857-221-1497.
Okay.
My name is Danny Santana. I'm the director of ITY, and anything that I can help you or anybody in the community with, give me a call.
All right. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for the call. I have a question. You know, we talk about, when I was a police officer back in the 20th century, I'm only kidding, we talked about community policing. And one of the things that we tried to push was that the patrol officer in the beat kind of galvanize resources and bring people together to try to deal with the social issues of the problems before it become a criminal matter. My question to you, have you ever had have a patrol officer, someone with a silver badge who's actually patrolling, come to you to say, could you sit on the board or could you sit at the table and talk to us about the problems that you are seeing in the community and how can we help you from our position to prevent that?
No,
that hasn't happened.
I'm going to be honest. You know, I sit at the weekly task force meeting with Reverend Baker and there's a lot of brass to sit up in there, okay? I've been asking for months to sit with certain individuals to discuss about how to bring them into my summer youth program to help the youth that I'm working with, you know, because one of the main objectives with my program is improving community relations with law enforcement and being able to show my youth that the police aren't the enemy, you know, and the police aren't really there to police us the way that society makes it think that they're there to police us. You want to talk the truth. We're going to talk some truth here. The police was designed to protect people that own property, their properties. Okay? And the reason why I'm going to be able to prove that, look at Halloween every time Halloween comes, right? You look in the neighborhoods like Dorchester, Mattapan, Jamaica Plain, Mission Hill, there's never no presence of police, a strong presence of police where they got streets blocked off and they got police details out there ensuring that the kids are safe while they're trick-or-treating, right? Right? Now, let's go down the street a little bit further. Let's go into South End, North End, the West End, Beacon, Fenway, right? All police detail are all out there on Halloween night, detailing, patrolling, blocking starts off, making sure that the kids are safe and that there isn't cars that are interfering while the kids are out there trick-or-treating. All right? Oh, not just Halloween. What about Christmas? What about Thanksgiving? We don't have that type of police presence. Right? Why? Because the majority of the property that's owned in our neighborhoods are owned by CDCs and corporations. They're not really private funded homes. They're not owned by individuals the way you see in those other neighborhoods that I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
But also, let's understand that the police department in this country, originally the way it was founded, was to actually like be slave catchers. Okay.
Absolutely.
And they evolved now to become policing, but originally what they were was like to go after people's property that could run away.
And I'm not gonna sit here and be bashing the police like, oh, after police this and after police that, because I'm a firm believer that we do need school police back in our schools. With all the youth violence on the rise, and you know, a lot of people would be surprised to even know that we have more violent young females in our schools growing up right now than we do young men who are actual gang members. The rise of violence between these young female youths supersedes the amount of violence that we're seeing between actual young men who are actual gang members. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's talking about that. So nobody's coming and acknowledging that this is a severe problem on the rise.
But you bring up an interesting point about schools. Do you find yourself getting any calls from school officials, or do you been invited into schools to talk to the youth in schools?
No.
Okay.
Not one school, with the exception of Madison Park, like maybe 5 years ago that I was going to Madison Park and actually doing workshops with some of the fellas and stuff when BAM was up in there, when they first started in Madison.
And what's BAM?
BAM, Becoming the Man. That's Sean Brown's organization. And, you know, whatever my personal feelings is with anybody, you know, if they still have a program that works like my program, I'm gonna acknowledge it. You know, because what we feel personally about people, it doesn't have nothing to do with the type of work that individuals do.
That's maturity there, brother. That's maturity.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know how to be a politician. I don't know how to smile in your face and shake your hand, and I don't have no respect for you. I can't do that. I don't support individuals that I don't have respect for. And there's a lot of state officials and city elected officials that I truly don't hold no respect for. You know, and I could have some choice words for them, but that's neither here nor there. You know, you out there acting like you care about black and brown. You don't really care about brown. You're only about the black. And you ain't even about the black. You're about a selected few of individuals that act like they care about the black. You know, so it's like I don't need to waste my breath. I don't need to waste my time in giving out names, because that just gives them a notoriety that they don't need, and they're not going to get that from me.
All right. So again, I just wanted to kind of go back to what Dr. Bradley had asked you earlier, and saying like, okay, so are you trying to work with the different police organizations, like you said? That
I am. I am. Actually, I have a sit down with Manny D.
Okay.
Who is one of the community police officers that actually does community work in our community, that actually cares about our youth.
Because earlier today we came up with the term of community education, and that could be part of that.
Yeah, that could be a part of it. Yeah. So we got 2 minutes. I'm getting the signal that we have 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So is there? Do we have any other callers on? They all gone? Okay, so and in this last 2 minutes, could you just give like an overview of your organization, what you're doing, how to get in touch with you, and
I said you're doing something tomorrow as well, right?
Yeah.
So I want to invite the community to 3 events that we have coming up. The first event is tomorrow. Well, I'm campaigning for fair housing for all returning citizens. If you're able to come support me tomorrow at 3 p.m. at 100 Malcolm X Boulevard, that's the Muslim Mosque right across the street from the Reggie Lewis Center. Please come by to show your support for ITY.
Okay.
The second event that I got's coming up on March 3rd, where I'm going to be taking 250 inner city youths from our city to Animate Boston, and I'm trying to raise $30,000 on GoFundMe, PayPal, Cash App to be able to pay for their entrance and to be able to provide food and